The Cincinnati Bearcats are turning heads to the point that Dallas is in the conversation.
You are Locked On Bearcats, your daily podcast on the Cincinnati Bearcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bearcats. My name is Jeff Carr, and I'm all Cincinnati all the time. I've worked in multiple athletic departments, and I've been a season ticket holder for Bearcats football for 7 years now. I'm glad that you're alongside me here. Locked On Bearcats is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Bearcats, every single day. And on today's podcast, Chad Brendel is back, and we're going to talk about the aspirations of this team because it kind of feels like the Bearcats football team is going places, and I know they talked preseason about where they want to go. We'll see if they can get there. This offensive line looks really good, and watching how much they dominated Iowa State for much of the game on Saturday has me wondering just how good they are. And then later on, I'm going to talk about what on earth the AP poll is doing, leaving the Bearcats out. That's all on today's podcast. It is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Joining us as he always does this time every week is Chad Brendel. He is, he runs the best corner of the internet for those of us that love UC. Chad, what you got for me?
Wow, that was fun. It was that's about as well as an offense can play in the first half. They were dominant. Like, it wasn't cute. It wasn't fancy. They were dominant. They dominated a good Iowa State defense on the ground, in the air, especially on the ground. I think they're still trying to scrape that guy's remains off of the turf at Nippert Stadium after not once, but twice getting the truck stick from Tawee Walker. But man, winning is fun, Jeff. Winning is fun.
Yeah, I don't think Carson Willick's going to get any Skyline chili anytime soon. He wants to forget everything about the city of Cincinnati as fast as he possibly can. Tawee Walker was like, you're going to see the ground here in Cincinnati quite a bit when I'm running the ball. I love that. And I think that was the most unpredictable thing about this game is that it felt like the run game had been good-ish up until that point, but we knew that Iowa State had nobody in the secondary and that Brendan Sorsby looked amazing against Kansas. So we just kind of figured it'd be carbon copy there, and they would pass and they would run a little bit just to take pressure off the passing game every so often. But this was the opposite. This was all about that power run game.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State's run defense had not been good. They had struggled in that facet. And I think when all of a sudden now your two starting corners are out, now you're focusing even more. They probably thought similar, right? Sorsby lit up Kansas. They're going to come out here and they're really going to test us and try to push the ball down the field. So we have to prevent that. The box gets a little lighter. And then all of a sudden, Evan Pryor and Tawee Walker are having an absolute field day running all over the place in the first half. And I think that's probably the best way to rationalize it is they really felt like they were going to have to focus on stopping the air attack. And Cincinnati said, wait, we can do both. We can throw it, and we can also not only run you over, but Evan Pryor can run right by you. And it was the 1-2 punch that we thought we would see coming into the season.
So with that, did you get your plane tickets for early December to head to Dallas now?
Not yet. Not yet. The back end of the schedule is a monster.
Yes.
Starting with Baylor, Arizona has been better than maybe I anticipated them being. BYU, TCU, like once you get to, they got to win these next two. Win these next two, you can start thinking about, what the ramifications are. You get to 4-0 in the league. You got 5 games left. I think you can rationally at that point say, okay, let's go to Dallas. We don't play Texas Tech, so we don't have kind of the monster in the room on the schedule. But, look, it's nice to be 2-0 and be in having the thought process of what needs to go right for this team to be Arizona State of last year. You know, for this team to be the team that surprises the league and potentially ends up in a championship game. So I don't think we're there yet. The nice part is probably 2 losses are going to keep you in the conversation in this league. There's, you know, Texas Tech might not lose. They might very well run the table in this league. But everybody else, I don't think that's going to be quite the case. So it's a little different than the American days where, like, you know, there are going to be 1 or 2 teams that dominate the top of the conference, and you got to finish undefeated or 1 loss if you're going to get in there. That's not the case in this league. There's going to be some teams that are beating each other up. BYU's schedule is really tough down the stretch. Arizona State doesn't have it easy down the stretch. And then you always got to watch. I think Utah could be dangerous playing from the middle up. I think they've got the second best SP plus in the league at 18, even though they've got a loss. So,
and the Bearcats go there, right?
Yeah, they go to Utah.
Yeah.
And that one's going to be interesting. Their offense is a little shaky, but their defense is excellent. And on the road, I'm guessing, you know, it's probably going to be one of those 11 o'clock at night games that you know, Big 12 after dark. But I'm not ready to put my mind there. I am ready to say it's fun to start thinking about what might be if this team continues to play well.
Right. And it's a much better thought process than where we were even just a couple of weeks ago, where it was just like, boy, can you just get to a bowl and can you win like 6-7 games, something like that this year? Now it feels like that's the baseline for this team, because I know, like, you know, Dan Horton mentioned a couple of weeks ago that, you know, Scott Satterfield was saying things like, we got to get to Dallas. Dallas is the goal. This is where we're going during training camp. And it's like, that's all well and good. And that's where you want your coach to have his focus. But compared to where they've been the last 2 years, let's just have a winning season. Now it feels like they have made that jump to at least talk more about, okay, winning seasons are fine, but just how good of a winning season will this team have? Because those vibes, man, they were so immaculate against Iowa State on Saturday.
I love Nippert when it's like that.
Yeah,
there's a few places in the country, man, that are like that place when it's full. It is. It was like the penalty on Logan Wilson for tackling. Right? They're like, the ref blew the whistle. It's like he couldn't hear that whistle. That place was going nuts at that point in time. Like that was a key play. The crowd was going crazy. I was standing on the field. I did not hear a whistle. So, like, and the guy was still running, but he didn't hear a whistle. The wide receiver didn't hear a whistle. Right. That's how loud and ridiculous Nippert can get in those big situations. And I will tell you this, Jeff. I've been at almost every game at Nippert Stadium for 20 years. That was maybe the most mad I've ever heard that place.
Yeah.
When
just
those
everybody
flags,
was joining in that refs chant.
Yeah. Aaron Smith that publishes all the content for the Bearcat Journal YouTube got dive bombed with it looked like an Angry Orchard. Hit like a foot from his leg and just exploded Angry Orchard all over the back of his leg. And the person standing next to me said, I wouldn't throw a $20 drink. I'm like, no, $20 for that Angry Orchard. I should have picked it up and chugged it, given it the old Stone Cold.
I think you would have gotten a pretty loud cheer if you had done that too. That would have been
probably.
But yeah, I just felt like leaving the stadium that day. It's unfair to compare this, but it felt similar to 2021. It felt that way, just in the vibes, not like, okay, this is that good of a team, but at the same time, like, fans are buying it and they're ready for this to take maybe even a bigger step than they expected at the beginning of the year. And that's why that question abounds. Now, I have a thought, and the reason that I have confidence in feeling like there's something more to this this team is because of the offensive line. And I want to dive into just how good they are coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to any football game. You just pick more or less on player projections, like, Jamar Chase receiving yards or maybe even Chase Brown rushing yards, and you're in the game. I mean, did you see the fourth quarter yesterday? The Bengals actually scored, or the other day, not yesterday, but the other day. I maybe they keep doing that. I don't know. Jamar Chase is the key. I think I'm just smashing the over on receiving yards for Jamar Chase next week because he is the guy you got to run this offense through. That's over on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thank you for making Locked On Bearcats part of your day. I invite you to make it part of your everyday routine. Make sure you hit the subscribe button here on YouTube and drop down in the comment section, hit the like button, make this community easier to find for Bearcats fans all across the interwebs. All right. I gotta say it's going to be a little bit hyperbole, but I really, really love this offensive line. And I got to know, is this the best Bearcats offensive line you've ever seen?
No. The one Pike had in 09 was Jason Kelsey and Jeff Linkenbach, and like that was about as good as it gets. You're talking multiple NFL guys.
Right. Could they get there?
Maybe.
Okay.
I wouldn't rule that out. Here's the thing I love about where they're at right now, where Nick Cardwell has this bunch. Typically, it's one or the other, right? You got a really good pass blocking line that's adequate at run blocking. You got a great run blocking line, but maybe they give up a little bit in the pass game. So far, this offensive line has been really strong in both. And that just doesn't happen a lot. To have the skill to pass block and move in space and stop edge rushers and be good at that, but also to have the nasty to run right at people and just line up and say, go ahead and stop us. Like that's what's just rare in college football, right? You don't even see it much in the NFL where a line is really good at both. So to have that developing right now, and look, I was a little critical of them, and I felt like I was kind of on an island on this. I was a little critical of them after Kansas because I thought Kansas, that's what they do is they get after the quarterback, right? And I saw Brendan Sorsby watch a play from his ass a little more than I would have liked during Kansas. Right. He only had one sack. It wasn't that the offensive line plays bad that game, but Kansas did what they do really well. They frustrated the offensive line. They gave them fits. How were they going to respond? They dominated Iowa State. Pass blocking, run blocking, they dominated Iowa State.
I don't know what the actual number was, but I felt like yards before contact on most plays for Walker or for Pryor was like 5 or 6 yards. It felt like they were getting downfield and getting a full head of steam before anybody, linebackers, front seven, defense back, whoever it was that touched them.
That's how you get those longer runs, right? Like you don't have any resistance until you're at the second level. And I mean, they were just blowing up Iowa State's front. And Dominic Orange is like an NFL high-end tackle prospect in the middle of that defense. And Gavin Gerhardt and company just pushed him around and did not let him he didn't have a tackle. I don't think he had a stat. Did not let him make an impact on the game. And I mean, go back and look, Jeff. Sorsby wasn't on the move a whole lot. Like he was standing there in the pocket, looking it down and making throws. He was not against Kansas. He was getting out of like he had to move. He's got, and that helps this offensive line. He's got great pocket awareness of where things are coming from, where guys are coming at him. But he didn't have to deal with much of that on Saturday because Iowa State couldn't generate a pass rush. And he was able to sit back there and kind of hang in the pocket and pick them apart. So that's the fun part for me is that they're doing it in both phases and that they did have I think if you asked those guys individually, they would have said we could have been better at Kansas. Like we feel like we played well, but we could have been better. and then they come out against Iowa State and go, this is what we meant. This is what we meant, as we're just pushing dudes all over the place.
What's your favorite pancake house? Favorite place to get like some pancakes or something like that?
Ooh.
That should be the nickname for this offensive line. They just
really
pancakes all over the place.
I'm a Northern Kentucky guy. I'm gonna give you a secret spot here. Fort Wright Restaurant.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. The big ones, right? Like the big plate size.
Oh yeah, got to be big ones. I'm not a big, I'm not like a $50 size. I know places do that. I don't like that. Give me a plate. Yeah.
I don't need mini pancakes. Nobody wants mini pancakes.
Big one, lots of syrup.
Yeah.
My wife disagrees with me on that one. But anyway,
maybe a stick of butter, like 8 ounces of butter.
We're not looking for any sort of diet when we have pancakes, for sure. But I know that, like, that's what it feels like, the pancake house. Maybe that's just what we call the offensive line, because they're absolutely destroying opponents right now. And I'm curious to see how they all go. So would you say that, like, among that group, is Gavin the key, or is it one of the tackles?
I mean, it's Joe Cotton, because they genuinely, coming out of the spring, did not feel like they had an answer at left tackle. They did not feel comfortable with what they had there to be to reach the ceiling of what they thought this team could be. They felt they needed to get significantly better at left tackle. They go get Joe Cotton in the spring. I think he was taking a couple weeks to find his footing. But more and more now, you're not really seeing anything from that left side. Like, he is prototypical 6'7", 320 pounds, moves well, long arms. He's everything you want in a tackle prospect. And getting somebody on your quarterback's blind side that can block out the sun, it changes your offense. It changes what you can do, what you can call. You can call those long developing routes to Caleb Goody, that Brendan Sorsby's just standing back there patting the football, waiting for him to run open, because he's going to be protected. That changes. Like, I know we talked a lot last year about the wide receivers not getting enough separation. Some of that was also the line did not give Sorsby enough time in the pass game to let those longer developing plays come open. So then you have to stop. You kind of have to stop calling them, because if you can't count on your quarterback having 3 seconds for a guy to beat his defender, you got to put those. You got to kind of move those plays to the back of the playbook. Now, I mean, that they called 3 deep balls to Goody, and one was a little short. One, I thought Goody could have ran maybe a little bit better route on the first one early. Then they miss him down the seam, where Sorsby overthrew him for the first time since Caleb Goody got on campus. And then the third one, you go back to the well and you hit that deep post, and he runs it in to put that game away. So you can't do that stuff if your O-line if your left tackle is not giving your quarterback the type of time and protection that he needs. So I'll go with Cotton, but man, as a leader, as a guy that has done everything for this university, to see Gavin having the type of year he's having is incredible. Like, that dude deserves every bit of chest puffing that he gets to do because of how good this line is this year, because he is absolutely the leader of the group.
It's the number one reason that I feel like moving forward, you could tell me that they won't lose another game, and that's the number one reason that I would agree with you, is the offensive line. Now, I know that's not going to be the case. They're going to struggle. There's going to be some matchups that aren't in their favor, and we're going to have to see exactly how they make that work. But I think all of it stems from this group. This group can make that happen.
Yeah, it's the backbone. It allows you to be good. It allows you to be balanced. It allows you on game to game. How do we think we can exploit this matchup? Your offensive line allows you the ability to say, we think we can pass, we're going to pass. Or, like we saw Saturday, we think we can run right at these guys, and we're going to push them off the ball, and then we'll use the pass off of the run, where the run is the dominant thing, and they can do both. And if you can do both, you can win a lot of football games.
The problem is there's one group of people that don't seem too impressed by the offensive line or anything that Cincinnati's doing. The Associated Press We're going to try to figure that out next. College football is in full swing right now, and Game Time is your number one place to get your next ticket to your next game, because Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, and they make the process so very easy. Whether you're going down to Nippert Stadium or you're following the Bearcats on the road, Game Time makes it easy because you see you're all in pricing right up front. No, guesswork or any type of surprises whenever you add the ticket to the cart. And then they also show you your view from your seat, so you know exactly what you're getting into. You won't run into any of those like, oh, hey, there's a pole in my way or something like that. If you go to a new stadium you've never been to, Game Time makes it so easy. And you can pull Game Time up in just a couple of taps and boom, you got your tickets right there on your phone. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. This episode is also brought to you in part by Square. Your favorite neighborhood businesses run on Square. There are certain businesses in our communities that really bring it all together. They make the neighborhood. These are the places that become the extension of home, whether it's the sports bar that's dedicated to the Bearcats, or it's the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. I love, too, the fact that, honestly, Nippert Stadium runs on Square. If you go to a vendor, or if a vendor comes to you in the stands, thankfully, and you look to get another beverage from them, they're going to use one of those Square devices for you to pay with. Square makes Bearcats games happen. That's why Square is amazing. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. I encourage you to keep the conversation going with myself and with Chad after the show is over. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs, and you can follow me on TikTok as well with that same username. You can also follow Chad at Chad Brendel. I know Chad's mad tweets probably were centered around the refs this week. Yeah.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of people don't get. They were angry. Are you a Seinfeld guy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The C was angry that day. The Nippert was angry that day. The Nippert was very angry, my friends. But they didn't show up too much in my mentions, other than I'd say I didn't believe what I was seeing, but I watched the Kansas game the week before, so it made it more understandable that, you're going to have to earn respect in the league. Those are two legacy teams, two talented teams that coming into each game had aspirations of playing in Dallas. If you're Cincinnati, you're going to have to overcome some of that stuff until you establish yourself. And here's the other thing, Jeff. This is the unfortunate part about it. The officiating in this league is just bad.
Yeah,
it's just bad. It's not good. They're not out to get Cincinnati. They're just bad at officiating. If you watch the other games throughout the day, there were calls all day where you're going, what? What is that? And I think it's just the reality of what we're going to have to deal with. There's bad officiating in this league.
I wanted to lean so much into Scott Satterfield has these Bearcats so good that the refs can't even believe it, and they're trying to make sure that they aren't good. But you're right. It's not like a singled out type thing. But yes,
they're bad for everybody.
If you're mad, tweet at Chad, and then also follow the show.
Tweet at Chad.
Follow the show at
mad, tweet at Chad.
_Bearcats. Let's close up with this, because I was expecting, as I'm sure you were too, that the Bearcats would make an appearance in the AP poll. Oh, you weren't?
No.
Really? Because they're 18 points behind. I was looking at this. Florida State. Florida State has 147 points. Cincinnati has 129. Florida State's lost their last 2 ball games. And they beat Alabama. That's a a much more heavier win than what the Bearcats have on their resume. But also their other 2 wins were East Texas A&M and Kent State. So that seems kind of familiar.
So here's the problem. they didn't pick up any votes after beating Kansas. And because they didn't pick up any votes after beating Kansas, they were going to have to go from not getting a single vote to getting enough to be in the top 25. And that's why I didn't think they were going to get in this week. The gap to jump all the way from not getting a single vote to in the top 25 is a pretty substantial gap, and it's just not historically how AP voters work. So I was expecting 26, 27 to like just on the outside looking in, and that's what we got in both polls. It's just really difficult. Look, that we said this, not with you because you weren't back in this space yet, but we said this after Nebraska. If you lose to Nebraska, you've got a big hill to climb to get people to start talking about you again.
That's true.
And then you play Bowling Green, and then you play Northwestern State, and those two games don't do anything. So from the end of the Nebraska game to the end of the Kansas game is a month, and you're out of sight for for those voters, for people paying attention at the top of the sport. You're out of sight. Then they go, oh, okay, they beat Kansas on the road. Like, we'll keep an eye on that. And then you beat Iowa State. Now all of a sudden, okay, well, we got to pay some attention to Cincinnati, but it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. But now that you're there, now that you're on the doorstep, if you keep winning, you know how these stupid human polls work. Right. Somebody loses, they fall out. The teams that are right there bump up a spot and move up into the poll. So keep winning these next 2 weeks, Jeff. I assure you they will be in the poll. But from not receiving votes to ranked, I just didn't see it as a likely possibility.
So you're happier because, like, looking at this, they're ahead of Texas, they're ahead of Penn State, they're actually ahead of Nebraska, ironically, double the points of Nebraska. So kind of what we're taking away from this is, hey, it's awesome that they jumped those teams, as opposed to why aren't they ahead of Florida State or South Florida or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really pay much attention to it and genuinely anymore, it doesn't mean anything.
You get to the college football rankings, that's when
football poll in the rank, that's what actually has some significance. And let's not lie, it's also because Cincinnati hasn't been ranked in 2.5, 3 years. So I just was able to cut that. I hate it. I don't like the polls. I think they're dumb. So I was able to cut that out of my life. Right now, it's creeping back in. Right, like the addiction is coming back to where I have to look at them every week, but I care less now than I used to because I think they're dumb. I think they're biased. I think they're not an overly accurate representation generally week to week of where the sport is at. Right. But if people are going to pay attention to them and UC is going to be in them, then I got to pay attention to them, I suppose.
The good news is that they're close. And I'm with you. I feel like these next couple of weeks, they could easily jump up in there, especially with some movement with teams ahead of them. Yeah. I wonder a little bit, and we hadn't gotten to this yet, but is the defense going to hold up the whole bend but don't break thing? Because I think it worked in their favor that Iowa State just didn't have a field goal kicker. I know they had a freshman kid that had never done it. If they had a field goal kicker, I wonder how the game looks. But they did the bend but don't break thing, and they didn't break to the point that they were able to hold them off. Is that something that is sustainable for them the rest of the way?
I mean, so far, yeah. The Kansas offense is different. It tests everything about your eye discipline. It tests everything about your ability to focus on your man, to not get caught up in the motion and the shifts. And, when you get caught up in that stuff, then you see guys start running open because two guys go with one and it's supposed to be you go here and you go there. And all of a sudden there's somebody streaking down the field for 30 yards. But they don't play another offense like that. I do think it's a little bit of a concern when you look at like Baylor and TCU, because those two teams have really good quarterbacks and they want to throw for 300, 350 yards a game. Like that's their operating, standard operating procedure. So you worry about those teams that can hit you over the top, because if you just break, if there's no bend, then playing bend but don't break doesn't do you a lot of good.
Right.
And that's what we saw against Kansas. They hit, 4 touchdowns that were outside of the red zone. So that causes major trouble when you're in the 3-3-5. I don't know outside of those two teams that they're really going to have to deal with that. Exclusive, like UCF can't throw it all. They stink. Like, their passing game is dreadful. Oklahoma State doesn't have a good offense. BYU started to figure out the passing stuff a little bit more, but they're more run-oriented. Arizona throws it a lot, so that's another one that could go on that list as a problem. But, going down the schedule, I think they can still bend but don't break. And look, Iowa State had 11 drives. They scored on 4 of them. Cincinnati got off the field 7 times. If you give this offense that, I'm more than comfortable that they're going to go out there and be able to win. If you hold if you hold the scoring percentage under 40% of the drives, I think this offense is going to be able to do enough to get Cincinnati across the finish line more often than not.
I love it. I think I agree. I know that, giving up 30 points gives you like feelings of just absolute.
The defense isn't great, Jeff.
No,
the defense isn't great. Like, it's flawed. But if they can just get off the field on third down more often than not, you've got a great offense. I mean, it's one of the best offenses in the country right now.
And if there isn't that pass interference called, does Iowa State get to 30? Doesn't. Yeah, it's different ball game if that call is not so egregiously bad.
Just
but I'm
handed them 8 points. Them 8 points.
8 points, and then even the drive after that, it kind of felt like they carry that momentum of like, okay, we can get back into this, and it's like, but I'm with you. Like, bend but don't break can work. I mean, we remember the mid-2000s Bengals. That's how they played defense. So I kind of want to see if that's going to work out. I think that they get the next 2 wins, and I know you said 0-2 or 2-0 whenever they started this. Of course, they're now 2-0. Do you see 4-0?
I do. I mean, obviously, it's going to be difficult. UCF has a really good defense and a really good defensive line. Like I said, like, this is strength on strength. But I don't think UCF can score enough. I just, I don't think they can put enough points on the board unless Cincinnati makes a bunch of mistakes. Oklahoma State homecoming in Stillwater. By the way, 8 p.m. kickoff for Oklahoma State. It is a night game.
I heard an interesting thing from our Locked On Oklahoma State guy that he's got an interesting tailgate that may or may not include a couple of key players from a certain NBA championship ball team. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Apparently, their homecoming's always at night.
That's cool.
I didn't know that. But
nip at night guaranteed every single year would be a lot of fun.
That would be great. Like, give us. I know the people at UC like to do 3:30 for homecoming. But give me nip at night for our homecoming game, and that would be phenomenal. But I think they get through these 2. I think they get to 4-0, and then you've got Baylor coming to town for homecoming with a real chance. Like, you get to 5-0 in this league, staring down that last month, probably feeling pretty good about Scott Satterfield and the Bearcats. Plus, you'd be bowl eligible. Like, a lot of those questions would be out the window. A lot of those concerns and doubts would be out the window. And then you can just go let it hang for the last month of the season and see where the chips fall.
And maybe you're having afternoon tea with Jerry Jones down in Jerry World. Who knows? I don't know. Does he probably didn't do afternoon tea. He probably does afternoon beer or something like that. Anyway,
he seems like a Scotch guy, doesn't he? Like,
yeah.
Jerry Jones having a nice 15-year-old Scotch.
That whole TikTok sound, like, want a beer? It's 8:00 in the morning. Scotch.
Right. That's Jerry Jones.
And that's where we'll end today's podcast. Talk about Jerry Jones. You never know what we're going to do here on Locked On Bearcats. Make sure you hit subscribe. That way you see us every single day. We're going to be with you all throughout the season. Heading into basketball season. Can't wait for that to get going. We'll be talking more about that as they tip off as well. But this football team, man, so excited to see what Scott Satterfield's got going on down at Nippert Stadium. And we're going to be with you every step of the way. Make sure you hit that subscribe, jump down in the comments section, hit the like button, all that good stuff. And make sure you're a part of the community over at bearcatjournal.com, because we're talking Bearcats all around the Bearcat sphere between Locked On Bearcats and Bearcat Journal and everybody else, because we love these Cincinnati Bearcats. Now make sure you go check out Locked On Big 12. Drake Toll, I'm sure, is going to be talking about why Cincinnati is heading to Dallas and put the pressure on him a little bit. I'm not sure what he's talking about over there, but it's going to be fun. That's Locked On Big 12. Just like Locked On Bearcats, we're all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.